Pecha Kucha 93 From Hell. So I read a graphic novel called From Hell, written by Alan Moore, illustrated by Eddie Campbell, and I wouldn't call it the greatest graphic novel ever written, but it's a graphic novel everyone should read. Everyone should read. This is the cover. I kind of was debating what I should talk about because there's a fuck ton of things that are spoilers, even though it's about Jack the Ripper, and there's a lot of facts and then there's an incredible amount of conjecture. But this is the guy that Alan Moore points the finger at, and he's on the cover, so I can talk about him. Yeah, From Hell is massive. The Punisher graphic novel there next to it is your average sized trade paperback. From Hell's about 5 or 6 times the size. It's massive, and its appendix alone is probably the size of the Punisher graphic novel. It's huge. So it's about the Jack the Ripper killings that took place in the 1880s in London, East London. It's fueled the imagination ever since. I don't have a particular interest in it, but you see some Assassin's Creed DLC stuff in here. It keeps coming up. I say I don't have an interest, but I did go on a Jack the Ripper walk when I was on my university course. I mean, my university campus was down the road from where some of the killings happened. It was part of a project I was doing. It was quite a good talk, and some of the stuff I learned there comes into play here. So, talk about From Hell specifically. The first page where you see the artwork, which is all ink work, black and white. It won't blow you away. It's functional artwork. It's not overly stylized. It's just there to get the job done. It's not that it's bad. It's just it's not going to blow you away. The guy on the cover, Jack the Ripper, is introduced. Like characters talk to him in the first person, but you don't see him for quite some time. It's an interesting way of introducing him, and that's why I was kind of a little bit reticent to even talk about him specifically, but I'm going to because, like I said, he's on the cover, and it's this guy. So William Whitney Gull, royal physician to the Queen. The book's meticulously researched, but some data is just used for speculation. It's too late for us to know anything for true, but Alan Moore fingers this guy. From Hell contains nudity. This is like the third or fourth page in, so it goes as hard at this as Berserk does. Although I think Berserk has someone getting killed a lot faster than this serial killer graphic novel does, so take that as you will. Of course, this is about Jack the Ripper doing some mighty fine ripping. It's got gore, but and what no, this is quite tame actually. It gets pretty crazy because the way that the bodies was left was quite grim, and it's been researched and accurately depicted in the art form as well. It's so the graphic novel's coarse, but then there's also this stuff like what is the fourth dimension? There are these broad narrative tropes and things that get introduced and reintroduced that don't make sense until the end, if they make sense at all. There's a lot going on in this graphic novel. It's this big for a reason. It's also full of celebrity cameos. Like, this is the Elephant Man. You either know or you don't, and I barely know, but I know enough to know that he was a big deal at the time. Moore can't help himself, and he says so. If he can find a historical, if he can find it historically feasible to put someone in the path of William Gull, he does. The Freemasons are basically the Illuminati, but they're not, because there is an Illuminati in this context. I think maybe they're factually accurate. I don't know, but they're part of the conspiracy that is the idea that Jack the Ripper got away because there was a group of people protecting the identity of this individual, and also the Queen's involved because William Gull is the Queen's physician. So is this a conspiracy theory? It is what it is. You read it, be entertained, be educated, ignore it all, do what you want. It's a graphic novel, it's your life. The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing was graffiti found close to one of the crime scenes. The East End was a kind of a hotbed of racism at the time. It's not changed so much now, I guess. One of the the inspector that found it wiped it off the wall because he didn't want an anti-Jewish pogrom going on. Just one of the many things of the trivia in this that are quite interesting. Architecture plays a large part in the narrative, to the point where the churches of One Hawksmoor Moor are characters in their own right that kind of underpin Jack the Ripper's philosophy, among other things. The appendix is massive, and it breaks down, it's all the references that Alan Moore's used. There isn't a separate appendix for Eddie Campbell, but he did his own research, which Moore talks about from time to time. This is such a commitment. It's crazy. Yeah, when the third or fourth victim gets killed, the people start profiteering off of it by selling effectively souvenirs of the killings and stuff like this, which of course is still going on now because you can go on Jack the Ripper walks. But Moore is consciously aware of this, and he's also aware that he's a part of it now. After the appendix is an entire kind of overview of quote unquote Ripperology and how many books have been written, prevalent theories and this kind of stuff. I mean, this is a thing, and it's crazy. It's insane. It's a whole industry. And that brings us to the end of this Pecha Kucha. I highly recommend. Because I just got this from the library. They had a copy in my university's library, and they had a copy in my local library. If you can get your hands on From Hell, by hook or crook, read it. Whether you have an interest in Jack the Ripper or not, it's a fascinating look at Victorian London, the East End architecture, matriarchies and patriarchies. There's metaphysical mumbo jumbo. There's so much stuff going on, and there are key things I've outright not mentioned at all because they are spoilers. From Hell, highly recommended. Yeah, I'll see you next time.